What if the America Europeans were warned about disappears the moment they leave the airport? During the 2026 World Cup, ordinary streets, yellow school buses, endless refills, drive-through pharmacies, and flags flying proudly above family homes revealed a country far warmer, easier, and more confident than the headlines suggested. How can things Americans barely notice become the very reasons visitors hesitate to leave? Perhaps normal is America's most powerful surprise. America looks unreal. A European visitor can land in the United States carrying an entire suitcase of expectations before the luggage even reaches the carousel. The headlines have already supplied the picture: disorder, tension, endless arguments, and a country supposedly too divided to enjoy itself. Then the World Cup journey leaves the airport, turns into an ordinary neighborhood, and that dramatic portrait begins to fall apart beside a freshly cut lawn.
If you're an American, you can probably not relate, but all this, for European, feels like we're right inside of a movie.
Like these type of houses, of course with the American flag.
Or the little bench on the patio, so cute.
I can totally see the pumpkins that will be placed here in fall.
A lot of Europeans grow up watching American movies, and the scenery we only know from movies. That's why it feels so nostalgic, and I know it doesn't make any sense to Americans, but that's just how it is.
I'm a Brit living in America, and this absolutely blows my mind that people think this is normal. So just on a main high street now, and in the background is the Rocky Mountains. So it's a huge big mountain front behind the street.
Why are there deer in American neighborhoods? When I first came to the US as a Japanese wife, I was surprised because we would see deer just casually walking around in the neighborhood all the time. In Japan, I only saw deer in the deep countryside or in the park in Nara, but never in suburbs like this. Is this normal in the US? And have you seen deer in suburbs of Japan?
What appears on the street is almost suspiciously peaceful. Detached homes sit behind broad yards, driveways hold family cars, porches face quiet sidewalks, and American flags move in the breeze without anyone treating them like a political emergency. A yellow school bus passes through the scene, and suddenly the visitor realizes that half the movie props Europe has watched for decades are simply Tuesday morning in America. The strangest part is that nobody local stops to admire it. They're busy taking out the trash. That calm feels especially unusual to travelers from cities built on a tighter scale. In central London, a narrow terraced house may share walls on both sides, while parking can feel like a competitive sport played with mirrors folded inward. In Paris, apartment life places bakeries, cafes, traffic, scooters, and neighbors within a few steps of one another. Amsterdam offers beauty and convenience, although its slender homes and canal streets were designed long before anyone imagined a pickup truck the size of a small fishing boat. Each European city has its own charm, yet the American suburb offers a luxury many visitors did not expect to value so quickly: breathing room. The scale changes the mood. A front lawn is not squeezed between two parked cars. A family barbecue does not need permission from the entire building. Children can ride bicycles without turning every corner into a negotiation with delivery vans. Even the silence has space around it. For someone arriving from a dense capital, the neighborhood can feel like the country has lowered its voice and handed everyone an extra room. This is where the media image loses another argument. America is often presented abroad through its loudest moments because ordinary stability rarely earns a dramatic headline. Quiet streets, clean yards, functioning routines, and families returning home after work are terrible television. Yet those unremarkable scenes are exactly what make many visitors reconsider the country. The United States they meet is less like a nonstop crisis and more like a place where convenience, privacy, and personal space have been built directly into daily life. After several weeks, the joke changes. At first, Europeans photograph the houses because they look unreal. Later, they start checking property prices because the peaceful movie set has become dangerously convincing. America's most persuasive advertisement may be the neighborhood Americans barely notice at all. The surprise is wonderfully ordinary. No landmark, no celebrity, no carefully staged attraction. Just a neighborhood doing its job so well that visitors who expected chaos begin wondering whether going home will feel like giving up square footage. The cup never ends. The empty cup barely survives 3 seconds before an American server appears with another drink, almost as if dehydration has violated restaurant policy. For many European visitors, that tiny moment becomes one of the most persuasive surprises of the entire trip, because it reveals something deeper than soda. America has turned abundance into a form of hospitality, and the message arrives cold, fizzy, and filled above the ice.
Apparently here you can just fill up your, your drink, just unlimited. So I'm gonna
Gonna give it a go. Get some Sprite, please.
Yeah, do you want any more ice in there?
No, thank you.
Can I grab the water?
Oh yeah, sure.
I don't think I've ever been to a restaurant where they're like, two receipts.
Trying as many free refills as I can during my layover in Atlanta Airport.
Okay, so I'm gonna get my first refill. I've never tried root beer before, so of course it's unavailable. I don't really want Dr. Pepper, it tastes like medicine. Let's try that, I don't know what it is. And then you just push the button to pour.
Hello, do you guys do refills on root beer? Yes, oh, thank you so much. That's awesome. Thanks for the refill.
In Britain, ordering another soft drink usually means ordering another soft drink, with another charge quietly joining the bill. The American refill changes that calculation completely because the customer stops measuring every sip against the price. A cup holding 54 ounces, roughly 6 liters, already looks large enough to require its own cup holder permit. Yet the real surprise begins when even that container is treated as temporary. At one Texas water park described in the footage, a $20 daily plan allowed another Coca-Cola every 15 minutes after scanning a code. That system does not merely sell a beverage, it removes the small irritation of deciding whether comfort is worth paying for again. This is why the habit becomes strangely addictive for visitors during the World Cup. They arrive expecting America to feel expensive, complicated, and constantly transactional, because that is often how the country appears in foreign headlines. Instead, a server notices an empty glass before the customer begins searching for attention, and another drink arrives without turning the table into a financial negotiation. The gesture feels generous precisely because nobody presents it as a grand gesture. Americans consider it normal service, while Europeans quietly wonder why such an obvious pleasure ever required a second decision. The contrast becomes especially clear beside cities such as London, Paris, or Amsterdam, where restaurant space is tighter, portions are usually smaller, and every item is more carefully counted. Those systems have their own logic, particularly where rent, storage, and old buildings limit what businesses can offer. America simply answers the same problem with its favorite tool: scale. Larger kitchens, wider dining rooms, enormous soda dispensers, and fast service combine into an experience that feels less cautious and more welcoming.
Europeans are coming to America for the World Cups and they are shocked by the most normal things ever. Free refills, grocery stores, friendly strangers, big parking lots, police officers taking selfies, waiters who actually care. And Americans are watching this like, bro, that is just a normal Tuesday. Exactly, that is the point. For Americans, this is normal.
Guys, I'll tell you something. There is free cup of water just like this, and you get your cup of drink and you can just refill it as much as you wish without paying anything. That's one of my favorite things in America.
By the third refill, novelty has quietly become expectation, which explains why travelers remember it long after stadium lights disappear. The cup becomes a small American promise that customers deserve comfort without repeatedly asking permission or calculating every extra dollar. There's also a cultural confidence hidden inside the refill. It tells the guest that the restaurant would rather give a little extra than allow the evening to feel stingy. That attitude appears across American life, from large portions to spacious doors, but the drink captures it perfectly because the reward keeps returning. Visitors may laugh at the bucket-sized cup during their first week, then miss it with surprising sincerity after returning home. The free refill succeeds because it makes generosity feel effortless. America does not deliver a speech about hospitality, it simply notices the empty glass and fills it again without any fuss. The bus is real. Europe had seen the yellow school bus 1,000 times before, yet seeing one turn an American corner during the 2026 World Cup made the screen feel dishonest. It was supposed to be a movie prop, a piece of background scenery behind teenage comedies and Friday night football stories. Instead, it arrived on schedule, opened its folding door, and carried children home, while local residents barely looked up.
Oh my god, this is my dream. I'm touching it. I'm touching it. Fuck yeah. Look at it, Ralph.
That reaction says more about American cultural influence than any billboard could. The United States exports images so powerfully that people abroad often know the shape of its daily life before they ever experience it. A British visitor may recognize the bus instantly, even though dedicated yellow school buses are far less common in the United Kingdom, where many pupils walk, use public transport, or rely on local arrangements. The footage captures that contrast clearly. The vehicle is ordinary to Americans, yet entering one feels like stepping through the television screen. The numbers explain why the bus feels woven into the nation. The American School Bus Council has long cited roughly 480,000 school buses, carrying about 26 million students on a typical school day. That is a moving population larger than many European countries, organized every morning with a system so familiar that Americans rarely consider how unusual it looks from abroad. The bus is painted in a standardized yellow chosen for visibility, and its flashing lights can halt traffic with an authority that would make a state trooper nod respectfully. Compare that with central London, where children may share red double-deckers with commuters, tourists, office workers, and someone protecting a takeaway coffee like a family heirloom. In Amsterdam, bicycles dominate the school journey. In Paris, dense neighborhoods and extensive transit place schools within a different urban rhythm. Those systems fit their cities well, but the American solution belongs to a country built across enormous distances, spread out suburbs, and communities where the school may sit miles from the front porch. What makes the yellow bus so appealing is the confidence behind it. America decided that getting children to school deserved its own vehicle, its own color, its own traffic rules, and an unmistakable place in the national landscape. Nothing about this familiar system feels temporary, careless, or improvised. Even the design seems to announce that childhood is important enough to stop every lane of traffic. Foreign media often introduces America through conflict because conflict travels well on television. A school bus quietly completing its route offers no shouting panel and no dramatic headline. Yet during the World Cup, scenes like this reveal the country visitors actually meet. Organized, recognizable, family-centered, and unexpectedly warm. By the end of the trip, the yellow bus no longer resembles Hollywood decoration. Hollywood resembles America because America built the original scene and kept it running every morning. For Europeans, that realization becomes moving because the most famous American vehicle is not reserved for presidents or celebrities. It belongs to children carrying backpacks, lunch boxes, homework, and tomorrow's possibilities. America Stays seated Europeans thought they already understood the drive-thru because they had ordered burgers through one. America politely accepted that definition, expanded it beyond recognition, and returned it with coffee, cash machines, pharmacies, groceries, and enough practical ambition to make the steering wheel feel like a front desk. During the 2026 World Cup, visitors kept discovering services designed around one wonderfully American promise: your day should continue moving even when you need something. The interesting part is not that Americans dislike walking, although European visitors certainly enjoy making that joke. The deeper reason is that the United States built convenience around distance. The country covers roughly 8 million square kilometers, while the United Kingdom occupies about 244,000. When homes, workplaces, schools, and shopping areas can sit miles apart, the car becomes more than transportation. It becomes the small private room connecting everything together. American businesses understood this long ago and began bringing the counter directly to the customer. That idea feels unusual in London, where a pharmacy may sit beside a grocery store and an ATM can appear outside the train station. Amsterdam places daily errands within cycling distance, while central Paris often fits cafes, bakeries, banks, and pharmacies into several walkable blocks. Those cities make convenience by bringing destinations closer together. America often achieves the same result by making the destination meet the vehicle. The footage mentions drive-thru restaurants, coffee shops, ATMs, and prescription pickups, services that visitors from Britain rarely see combined so casually. What first looks excessive quickly becomes difficult to give up. Parents can collect medicine without unloading sleeping children. Older customers avoid crossing a busy parking lot. Workers grab breakfast without sacrificing another 20 minutes before their shift. Someone wearing pajamas can complete an errand while maintaining the dignity of never becoming fully visible. That last benefit deserves more respect than tourism brochures usually provide. American convenience becomes addictive because it removes tiny moments of friction that Europeans have learned to accept. Finding parking, locking the car, walking inside, waiting in line, carrying everything back, and restarting the journey may sound harmless. Repeat that process 4 times on a hot afternoon in Dallas or Orlando, and the drive-thru begins looking less like laziness and more like inspired engineering. Foreign coverage often portrays American car culture as wasteful or impersonal, yet visitors on the ground encounter another side of it. The system can be remarkably considerate because it recognizes that customers have children, limited mobility, tight schedules, bad weather, or simply an exhausting day. Convenience here is not treated like an embarrassing indulgence. It is treated like good design. By the time European fans prepare to return home, the drive-thru ATM no longer seems ridiculous. The truly ridiculous thought is parking the car, walking across the lot, withdrawing cash, and then climbing back inside when the machine could have simply come to the window. America did not eliminate the errand. It merely taught the errand some manners. Pride flies outside. The first thing many European visitors notice is not a monument, a stadium, or even the size of the road. It is a flag hanging from an ordinary porch, moving above a driveway as casually as a porch light. Then another appears outside a store, another beside a town square, and another printed across an entire supermarket display. By the third day, the surprise is no longer that Americans display the stars and stripes so often. The surprise is that they do it without whispering. That matters because national pride is handled very differently across Europe. In Britain, flying the Union Jack or the flag of England is legal in ordinary circumstances, although planning rules can apply to size, position, and how it is displayed. The hesitation is usually social rather than legal. In Germany, private flag displays often become far more visible during major football tournaments when national colors feel connected to sport and celebration. France has a powerful national identity, yet the tricolor is more commonly associated with public buildings, civic ceremonies, and major national occasions than with every suburban driveway. America places the flag directly inside daily life. Congress formally established Flag Day in 1949, and the United States Flag Code is contained in Title IV of federal law, but the emotional power of the symbol was never created by legislation alone. It survives because families choose to place it outside their homes, veterans carry it in parades, schools raise it in the morning, and small businesses hang it near the entrance. The flag is not waiting for a government ceremony. It has already been invited to the barbecue. That is what catches World Cup visitors off guard. Foreign coverage often presents American patriotism as loud, political, or even suspicious. On the ground, it can feel much simpler. A flag beside a mailbox may express gratitude, family history, military service, community belonging, or the uncomplicated belief that loving your country should not require an apology. The footage repeatedly shows visitors noticing this openness and admiring how naturally Americans display affection for their nation. The habit becomes strangely contagious because it gives public space an emotional temperature. A town square decorated for Memorial Day feels less like anonymous infrastructure and more like a place whose residents remember who they are. A front porch with a flag says that the house belongs to a private family, but the family still sees itself as part of something larger. That message can be understood before anyone speaks. By the end of the trip, some Europeans begin buying American shirts, posing beside flags, and borrowing the confidence they once considered excessive. The attraction is not blind nationalism. It is the freedom to feel proud without immediately lowering your voice. America's flag appears everywhere because American identity is allowed to live outdoors. After several weeks surrounded by that visible confidence, returning home can make public life feel strangely undecorated. Gas station wonderland. A gas station in Europe usually wants you gone quickly, politely, and with just enough fuel to reach the next town. An American travel center, however, behaves like it has been waiting all week for company. That difference becomes unforgettable during a long World Cup road journey, because the stop begins with fuel and somehow expands into barbecue, clothing, sports gear, household goods, cold drinks, souvenirs, and restrooms cleaner than some city cafes. The footage shows rows of pumps stretching far beyond what many British travelers expect, while the building behind them operates less like a kiosk and more like a small department store wearing a gas price sign. The scale is not random theater. It reflects how America learned to serve movement. The continental United States spans 4 time zones, and interstate travel can carry families hundreds of miles without leaving one state. In that setting, a roadside stop cannot merely sell gasoline and a tired sandwich. It must feed people, entertain children, offer clean facilities, restock the car, and send everyone back onto the highway feeling human again. France has excellent autoroute service areas, Germany has its Raststätten, and Britain has familiar motorway stations operated by major chains. Those places perform an important job, yet their atmosphere often says, rest briefly, then continue. The American version sounds more like, since you're here, would you also like brisket, a hoodie, peach candy, lawn decor, and enough jerky to survive a minor frontier expedition? The footage's own comparison is telling. One traveler expects only 4 or 5 pumps at a British station, while the American rows continue far beyond his first glance. Once traffic volume, towing vehicles, pickup trucks, vacationing families, and long-distance freight are considered, that apparent excess starts looking remarkably sensible. America did not make the stop enormous merely to impress people. It made the stop enormous because the road outside is enormous too. This is precisely where the roadside experience becomes strangely addictive. Travelers begin appreciating the confidence of a place that refuses to make necessity feel miserable. Nobody wants to remember a fuel stop, but America seems determined to give it a personality anyway. Fresh barbecue replaces plastic-wrapped resignation, spotless restrooms remove the usual dread, and the huge retail floor turns 10 boring minutes into a small cultural event. The deeper appeal, however, is emotional rather than merely commercial. A well-run American travel center quietly tells exhausted drivers that their comfort matters, even between destinations. It respects the family with restless children, the trucker finishing another long shift, and the fan driving overnight toward the next match. Convenience here feels generous instead of clinical because it meets people exactly where fatigue usually begins winning. By the time visitors leave, the joke has reversed completely. They entered wondering why any gas station needed so much space, then returned home wondering why every gas station offers so little. America somehow turned refueling into hospitality, and the highway has never looked more welcoming for anyone making the long journey. The sink eats. In America, even the kitchen sink has a job description. It rinses, sprays, drains, and then with one switch, devours leftovers like a tiny appliance that has watched too many action movies. For many Europeans arriving during the 2026 World Cup, the garbage disposal is the kind of discovery that changes a kitchen from familiar to strangely futuristic. They have already been told that American homes are wasteful, oversized, and complicated, yet here is a small machine doing something remarkably practical, reducing soft food scraps before they ever become a leaking bag in the trash. The surprise comes from how casually Americans use it, because nobody gathers the family around when the sink finishes dinner. In Britain, food waste is commonly scraped into a bin or a council food caddy, while homes in Paris and Amsterdam usually rely on separate organic waste systems rather than machinery beneath the sink. Those approaches fit cities with older plumbing, denser housing, and long-established municipal collection routines. America followed another path, especially in suburban homes where convenience became part of the kitchen's basic design. The invention itself is deeply American. Architect John W. Hammes developed the first practical in-sink disposer in Wisconsin during the 1920s, and his company later introduced it commercially. Even New York City resisted the appliance for decades because officials worried about sewers, then lifted its long-standing ban in 1997 after studying its impact. That history matters because the disposal was never simply a gadget looking for attention. It was a debate about whether modern homes should send food waste through pipes or carry it out in bags. American Housing Survey data has generally placed garbage disposals in roughly half of occupied homes, making them ordinary enough to disappear into daily routine while remaining exotic to many foreign guests. The footage captures exactly that gap. The removable spray faucet already looks useful, but the moment the sink starts grinding leftovers, the kitchen appears to have hired its own cleanup crew. The addictive part is not the noise, which can sound like a lawnmower trapped beneath the counter. It is the absence of the unpleasant little ritual that Europeans often accept without thinking. Touching wet scraps, carrying a dripping bag, and discovering the smell one warm afternoon later. America removes that friction with a switch placed within easy reach, because American design often asks the blunt question, why should an annoying task remain annoying? That attitude explains why visitors begin admiring something so unglamorous. The disposal does not make the house look wealthier, and nobody poses beside it for vacation photographs. It simply saves a few messy minutes every day, which is exactly how a culture of convenience becomes persuasive. Big American ideas attract headlines, but small machines win people over quietly. After several weeks, returning to a silent European sink can feel unexpectedly primitive. The plate is clean, the tap is running, and the leftovers are waiting in the drain as if America forgot to send the final piece of the kitchen home with you. America's greatest surprises are often the things Americans barely notice. A yellow school bus, a flag above a porch, a cup refilled before anyone asks, or a roadside stop built with genuine care. Perhaps that is why so many visitors arrive expecting headlines and leave remembering everyday life instead. Which ordinary American habit would you miss most after returning home? Share your answer below and subscribe to the channel for more stories revealing the America travelers never expected to love.